Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, or welcome if you're brand new here. Today, we're talking all about intuition, how you can strengthen your intuition, because I believe it can be such a superpower, especially as a woman, and how this can help in all different areas of your life, but especially in your healing journey. And I feel very called to do this episode, and it has come at such a relevant time for me. I've been practicing what I preach in this area, listening to my gut and following what is best for me right now. It's been a bit of a challenging start to the new year, and it can be scary at times to listen to your intuition. And I can totally relate if you're dealing with something too, but I always remind myself that some of the best things I've ever done in my life, not only for my health, but even in my business, general life too, it hasn't always been the most logical, and maybe my head and heart are saying something different, but when I trust my intuition, it always has and always will pay off. And I feel the same for you as well, whatever you're dealing with. So I want to share some of the times that I have trusted my intuition. And this is a constant reminder for myself. I'll often make lists and just go back and provide evidence to my subconscious mind and my gut that this is the right thing to be doing. But it all started off, I feel like as a child, I was pretty intuitive, but I didn't really have any um, things to decide for myself. And when you're young, you're kind of told what to do. So it was when I was leaving school and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. That's when I first realized I've always known, just this inner knowing, this inner gut feeling that I wanted to help others. And I didn't know what that looked like to begin. So I went down the typical path, if that's what you're into. At high school and at college, I studied health and social care. You might have had something similar in your schools. And I went through with it. I did in college drop out after the first year or second year. It was a 3-year course because I just didn't resonate and I just didn't feel like it was a good fit. And some people would have stuck there, but my time and my energy is very valuable to me. And when I know that something's not right, I can't stay in it. So it was going down the lines of becoming a social worker, a nursery nurse, even they were mentioning dietitian, and it just didn't feel like it was going to be the good fit. So I had that little inkling that I was going to be in this world, but I actually didn't know what this world was. I didn't know what a naturopath was. I didn't know what a life coach was, or I didn't feel like I would ever be able to do that. So I just went off, and one of my dreams was to do Camp America. So when I was 19, I went off for the summer, worked in Pennsylvania. It was an amazing experience. I'm so glad that I was brave and did that. I actually made a really good friend who I'm still in touch with now. And over the past week, we've reconnected again, and it's been lovely. And that trip was the catalyst to my health journey. If you know more about my story, it was after that trip, after weeks of horrible food, intense exercise, and just severe depletion, food poisoning, insect bites, Lyme disease. That's when things took a turn with my health, but I don't regret it because then that led me to where I am today, helping others. So that was a time I listened to my gut. I knew that the course that I was on wasn't right for me. I don't know where this download came to go and do Camp America. I don't think I knew anyone else who had ever done it, but it sounded really good. And I really always felt drawn to be in the US. And that was something that I did. And I passed all the courses. I got assigned to a camp and was working as a Pilates and aerobics instructor. And at the time I had no experience, but it all just worked out. The second thing was after that trip, came back after the summer, health was deteriorating. Still didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life in terms of career. I was just working part-time at that point at a supermarket. And within a few weeks of being home, I was researching, and that's when I came across this naturopathic nutritional therapy course. No idea what that was. I knew what a nutritionist was and was like, that's interesting. It was between two colleges at the time, but I just felt more drawn to CNM, the College of Naturopathic Medicine, where I ended up studying. And within days of finding out what a naturopath was, what this college was, it ended up being synchronistic in that I was heading into Manchester that week, and there was actually an open day on perfect timing, went, and I was like, yep, this is for me, trusted, and didn't really know what would come of that, but it was obviously a great decision. In 2019, so once I'd finished this course, I felt like I was ready to leave my part-time job. I'd been there about 7 years. It was the first job that I had. It was comfort zone. It was consistent money coming in every month. I had some friends who worked there. It was so conveniently close to my house. And I just felt that I needed to move on. And I left that job and went full time in my business in 2019. I was scared, it was outside of my comfort zone, but that was one of the best things that I did as well. And I had nothing to worry about in terms of my monthly wages because month upon month, when I went full time and I put all of my energy into my own business and my own thing instead of trying to do it, split my energy between the two, it was a no-brainer. And my business continued to grow year by year, but even month by month to begin with. So I was 100% online in my, I was 100% in my business. And for the first few years, and even when I was part-time in my job, I was doing some in-person stuff at my local health clinic that did acupuncture. And I have a few clients now still who that's where they started. And I can't even remember where they found out about my work. Maybe it was at a little local talk that I did. And I was doing probably two-thirds of my sessions online and then a third in person. And the room that I was in was so cheap, so convenient. I could walk there within 10 minutes. And the guy who ran it was just really laid back. And I wasn't in any contract, so I didn't have to be there every Friday and fill the spot. It was just as and when needed. So really good opportunity. But I just didn't enjoy the in-person experience because if someone was even slightly late, then someone's already set off from home and then they're just sat around waiting. And I felt like it was a bit of a rush to get someone in and out the door. And this was before COVID lockdowns and when Zoom really took off. So I had been using Zoom in my business and just really enjoyed working from home, being able to connect with individuals all around the world and it not being confined to my hometown. And if I was ever running late, then I could just email them and they're at home or they can just go off and do something else and they're not traveling in. So I just love the online space. There's benefits of in person as well. And I've actually incorporating some of that into my business now with the workshops. PS, there is a workshop coming up on the Saturday, the 17th of May. If you missed the last one in October, just wanted to give it a little mention now. Tickets are available to the general public. They are just £65 for the full day, 10 till 4:30, Manchester City Centre. If you want more information, send me a message. And there's limited spaces available. So thought I'd drop that in while it was mentioned here. So I felt drawn to go 100% online with my business. People were saying, oh, it's a bit of a stupid idea. You've got clients. You're not struggling to get clients in your hometown. Some people would think that I was isolating myself, and I just knew that it wasn't meant to be. And again, didn't struggle with getting clients when I went 100% online and actually felt much better. And the energy that you show up into something with is important because I feel like clients can tell. So if a client came into that in-person clinic and I was rushed and feeling scattered and not fully enjoying the process, they're probably going to pick up on that. So a few years later, in 2023, I invested the most money that I've ever spent on myself within a few weeks period, because that is when I'd paid my house deposit. I also invested in a new coaching certification and I signed up to a business course as well. And it just felt right. It was a big sum of money. I didn't actually tell, I think I only told my boyfriend at the time what was going on. And he was just like, right, I know this stuff for you works and you just need to follow what's right and it's completely up to you. But I don't think I told my parents or anyone else what was going on because they would have tried to talk me out of it. And it ended up paying off so much. I love the home that I'm in. Having that upgrade in my environment made a huge difference, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable and scary to pay more in terms of your mortgage. I was renting before, so this is a whole new ball game, and it's only benefited my life. And you have to recalibrate to this new level, and it can take a bit of time. There was a few weeks where I was like, what have I done? This is too much and this feels uncomfortable. But now I have gotten to that next level and it's part of my identity now. And I'm so happy with my living situation and the courses that I invest in as well. Even if I've done the odd thing here and there, I've not had a really terrible experience with something before, which I know some people have. They've been really burned by different coaches and practitioners. For me, it's always been like, oh, it was fine, like could have got more out of it. But with these ones that I did, I really enjoy them and I still have access to them, and the value just increases with time and I still get lifetime access. So it was such an investment that paid off for me. So those were some of the biggest things that I've done, and not ready to fully talk about the most recent thing. You'll probably, if you're tapped in, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying. But at the start of January, yeah, I went through another trust fall with the universe and listened to my intuition, and maybe I'll talk about that eventually, but not ready just yet. So, onto intuition, we often become disconnected because of things like trauma, and we can just disconnect from our physical body and we don't trust ourselves, sometimes with health issues, which is what happened with me. Sometimes being on medication, antidepressants can really shut your intuition down as well. Even just society and the way that we have been raised can contribute. We ask permission from our parents, our teachers, we go to the doctor and specialists for health issues and outsource our power and stop learning to trust our own inner guidance. And there's a time and a place for listening to someone who's been there, done that, but I've really learned to not take advice from someone who I wouldn't want to trade places with. So, in terms of relationships and finances and these personal development decisions that I've made, if someone is not living the life that I aspire to, I really need to not ask so many people what they would do. I was so guilty of that for so long. Even just like, should I post this picture or this picture? What do you think about this podcast art and these colours? And my mum would shout at me sometimes because with her, I'd ask her and then I'd just not do what she said. And she's like, why would you ask me? But sometimes I just need to ask the question to get really clear on what I want. So it's a bit of a bad habit, but it's just how I process my thoughts. I feel like as children, we're all pretty tapped in to our intuition and our inner guidance. And then it can shut down, which is what happened to me during my health struggles in my late teens and early adulthood, especially because I had a lot of gut issues and that affects the brain. The gut-brain connection is very real. Your mental clarity, if your gut is unhealthy, you're going to have brain fog, you're going to be more anxious, your thoughts are going to be more pessimistic a lot of the time. And also just think of that gut feeling. So if your gut's off, it's going to be either very overactive and it's going to be very anxious and you can't trust anything, or it's going to be completely shut down and you feel dissociated and you're like, I don't even know like what are my thoughts versus anxiety, ego, other people's projections. I also had hormonal issues, including amenorrhea, missing periods. I'd been on the pill and then just losing my menstrual cycle for a few years. This is another big way that women connect with their inner guidance and feminine intuition is through their hormone health. And another thing was that my confidence, my self-confidence, my self-esteem was very low because of all of these things, plus my weight, my skin, my hair loss. I just didn't like or trust myself in that phase of life. And it was a time in your teenage years, early adulthood, you can just feel very unsure about yourself anyway. And then on top of that, if I didn't like what I saw when I looked in the mirror, I felt really ugly. I felt really left behind in terms of life. That's just going to make things a lot worse. I was in victim mentality for a while too. I'd say we need some level of health to turn on our intuition, so to speak, but it also works the other way around too, because strengthening our connection to this inner compass and our gut feeling can be one of the best ways to support your healing journey. It can give you clarity on what is or what isn't working, the next steps that we should be taking in our health, what practitioner we should work in, what supplements or resources we feel drawn to. So it works both ways. I just want to share the difference between anxiety or ego and intuition. I had this question and I have come to understand it a little bit more with this description. I would say intuition is a lot calmer. It can often be a lot quieter, and it's usually very non-emotional. Whereas ego slash anxiety can be very loud, chaotic, and emotional. And also, it's important to pay attention to how they come in for you. Is it in your left ear or is it through your right ear? Is it through an inner knowing? Is it a feeling? Is it an actual voice that you hear or like a download that comes in and you're like, I don't know where that came from? It's different for everyone, and you can practice with sentences that are definitely true. So, my name is Vivian, I'm 30 years old. How does that feel in your body? Do you feel like you're leaning in? Um, what does this truth feel like for you? And then when you say, my name is Dave and I'm a man, how does that feel in your body? It can change based on even your human design, so that could be worth looking into. Mine is a gut sacral connection. I'm a generator in human design, so mine is more of this gut feeling. And some people need to sit on things for a while. Sometimes it's a just definite quick, fast knowing. Some people need to take weeks and ponder on it and do pros and cons list. But over time, this is a skill as well as a practice, and it can be improved because I've gone from as a child probably being pretty intuitive, losing it, going to rock bottom, and now feeling the most connected to my intuition that I ever had. But it's still something that I want to improve and work on. I just want to take a quick pause to ask you a really important question. Where do you want your health to be in 6 months' time? More energized, feeling comfortable in your skin and body again, excited for life because you're finally starting to see improvements with your health, or frustrated and depressed because you're still struggling with symptoms, which are taking over your life and stopping you from living life to the full. If you want the first option, you're going to have to do something different. After all, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over again and expecting a different result. If you're DIYing your health, meaning trying to heal yourself through researching, trial and error, wasting a lot of money and time in the process, then you could be sabotaging your results. Would you try and fix your car if it broke and you didn't know what was wrong with it? No. So why are you trying to do it all alone when it comes to the most important thing that we have in our life, our health? Trust me, actually asking for help and investing in yourself saves you time, money, and a lot of stress in the long run. I know you're probably not getting any answers or support from your doctor. I've been there too. That's why I created my 6-month signature hormone reset package. This one-to-one coaching package offers the highest level of support and transformation as we'd be closely working together to identify and address the underlying root causes of your health issues. Even if you're already eating healthy and taking supplements, there's so much more to healing, so don't feel like you've tried it all. Let me help you figure out what's causing your stubborn symptoms and support your body in healing naturally, which, in case no one has ever told you, is completely possible. Check out my website, which is linked in the episode show notes for more information, and the links to apply or book an enrollment call are there if you want to chat further. If you've been looking for a sign, this is it. So here are my 5 steps on how to strengthen your intuition. Number 1, I mentioned the physical health connection, but this is key. As a nutritional therapist and health practitioner, you could expect me to mention this in here, but it's so true. Our physical health and improving that is just going to strengthen the physical vessel that we have. The gut connection is just undeniable. You don't need to have an IBS diagnosis to have gut issues. And I often find that the people with the most gut imbalances have the least digestive symptoms, and maybe they are just struggling with anxiety or low confidence or lack of clarity, what they want to do with their life, just having these ruminating thoughts, maybe those people have gut issues. So let's work together. Let's do a stool test and see what is going on with yourself. If it's anxiety or hormone imbalances as well, like I had, look into the deeper physical causes. Could be mineral imbalances, could be thyroid issues, it could be your blood sugar or metabolic issues are off. This is, again, something I can help you with one-to-one, so you can see the show notes for more information. You can book a free 30-minute call if you want to chat further. So when we have improved health, our brain's going to be clearer, our gut is going to be healthier, not sending these crazy messages to our brain. We are going to be more positive. We're going to be more connected to the future, because when my health was in the trash, I was not thinking about my ideal life and my dreams and my goals and this like fairy tale vision that I have for my life. I was literally just trying to get through to the next day. So it is about strengthening your health first, and then there is that other flip side where you can then, when your intuition is coming back online, you can start to tap into that in terms of choosing what your next steps are going to be. Number 2 is to do the inner work on yourself. So explore your triggers, see your triggers as an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Look into your limiting beliefs, work on your self-confidence and self-trust. I find the best way to do that is to stick to the promises that you make to yourself. So if you tell yourself that you're going to wake up at 8 a.m. every single day and go straight to the gym, you need to stick with that, because if you can't trust yourself, then you can't really expect others to trust you, and you're not going to trust your intuition when that comes online. Usually though, with all of these triggers, limiting belief work, it often comes down to things like fear of rejection, fear of judgment, not feeling worthy, not feeling lovable, something along those lines. So there are lots of journal prompts out there, somatic therapies, practitioners that you can work with that can help you to explore if you have no idea where to start. They're called shadows for a reason, because we can't typically see them for ourselves, but pay attention to the similar patterns that are coming up in your life. What are you worried about all the time? And go deeper and take some steps backwards to find out where the root of that is from. I can do more podcast episodes on these types of things if you would like, let me know. But we all have trauma to some degree, and it could be something that happened in childhood that is still subconsciously playing out now. And not only will working on your emotional body and releasing yourself from these limiting beliefs, that's going to improve your physical health, because the body holds on to these things and it can cause physical dis-ease, but it'll also remove these energetic shackles, so to speak, that weigh you down and disconnect you from your true self. Number 3 is to spend time with yourself daily. There is so much going on in the modern world, so many distractions from the minute that we wake up in the morning. So we have to actively carve out time for ourselves to listen to this inner guidance and this inner voice. So ideally in silence, through meditation. It could be that your mind is very chaotic to begin with, and you might think that meditation isn't for you, or you're just not someone who can sit still. That's totally normal, and probably shows that you do need more of that if your body is just really uncomfortable with slowing down. So to practice meditation, you want to just imagine your thoughts passing like clouds in the sky, not attaching to them, not believing every thought that you think, letting them drift on by. You are actually the thinker of your thoughts, not the actual thoughts themselves. So if you can observe yourself thinking something, obviously you are that higher being who is looking down on that, or who is aware of that, not the actual worry or negative voice. And it might be easier first thing in the morning or before bed, rather than in the middle of a work day. It's going to be more difficult for your brain to get into this relaxed state, because your subconscious is more open at that point. It's more receptive to change, and your busy work day hasn't started at that point. So your morning, as soon as you wake up, carving out 5 minutes, or before bed if that works best. And for women, the luteal and menstrual phases in particular are really important to have this quiet reflection time. So pay attention to what thoughts, what emotions, and what worries are coming up around that time. And it can be that there are irrational thoughts when someone has premenstrual syndrome or PMDD. It might be that you feel like you have suicidal thoughts or just really dark, depressive thoughts, and then the rest of the time you're absolutely fine. But if there's these recurring patterns that come up, like every month on your period, you are crying about how much you hate your job or how unloved you feel in your relationship, please pay attention to that because there might be some truth within that and it's just exaggerated. And you're just tapping more into your intuition during that time of the month because your hormones are a little bit off. But that is the time of our cycle as women that we are the most intuitive and the most tapped in. So take advantage of it and start to explore that a little bit more. Number 4 is to ask for signs. This can come in a few different ways. Angel numbers, you can use tools like pendulums, tarot cards. I have a really cool story. I probably told it on here before, but this was a few years ago when I was getting more into the spiritual world, and I heard someone say, ask for a sign. And it could be that you use things like feathers or, again, angel numbers, birds are some typical ones, but I just closed my eyes and then just the first thing that popped into my mind was what I was going to use. I can't even remember what the situation was that I was asking. Is it a yes or no? But I had the thought to ask for an anchor in this situation. And it's also good to have some sort of time limit on it. And it was a yes. So I was out on a walk and it was the second day. So it was coming to the end of this 48-hour challenge. And I just had a thought because I just let go of it. The other thing is that you just disconnect and trust if it's going to be a yes or no in that time period. So I was out on a walk and I just thought, oh, I've not had the anchor sign yet, so it must be a no, but the time's not up just yet. And as I thought that, I was listening to a podcast at the same time. And the woman host of the podcast, in the space of one sentence, said the word anchor probably 3 times. I think she was talking about meditation and mindfulness and breathing. So she was saying, use your breath as an anchor, and this can anchor your nervous system. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So it can come in different ways than you would expect. So I think I thought that I was going to get an anchor, like a ship anchor, a cartoon, a graphic, an emoji, but it was the word anchor. So just keep that in mind. It might look a little bit different, but when you see it, you'll know if that's for you. You can also just start with little small questions just to build trust with yourself. You don't have to start trusting your intuition and asking it these big life-changing questions right away if you're not really sure. Just use little questions throughout the day. So if someone is calling you, if someone's ringing your phone, just try and intuitively think who that is. Or it could be that you ask your body, ask your intuition, which way do you want to drive home this weekend? Or on the weekend, if you've got a few free hours, instead of having something planned out, leave it open and then just see how you feel and what you feel drawn to. Or what should we have for dinner tonight? And this is why I'm saying having some physical health is important, because if your body is just telling you that you want pizza for dinner every day, that could be a sign of a blood sugar issue, a gut imbalance that you have. So yeah, it's important to differentiate between the two and just understand what your body actually needs versus what is your self-sabotager. And then last but not least is number 5. To strengthen your intuition, I want you to follow what feels good. And I mentioned earlier with things like your body leaning in, if it's a yes, this is the concept of how muscle testing is also how it also came around, and like our body language when we're attracted to someone or we're interested or we're open, we'll lean forward, versus if we want to leave, we'll lean back. So these micro movements are typically unconscious, but our body shows how it's feeling if it's drawn to something. And we are often drawn to things that are meant for us. and are good for us. Not to say that everything should always be super smooth sailing, we never experience challenges or discomfort, but let's say on your healing journey, you want to start looking into your emotions more and some nervous system work, and you hear people talking about breath work, and that just kind of sets off a little bell in your brain. It pricks up your ears when you hear people talking about it, or you might hear someone recommend a book a few times. Mine's always, if it happens more than 3 times, I have to at least explore it. And that's your reticular activating system of the brain. On a physical level, it knows what's important to you, it knows what you want, and then it's filtering and scanning for evidence and tools in your environment. So let's say you want to try breath work and you're like, oh, I'll give it a try, but you feel a little bit worried, it's a bit outside of your comfort zone, but you feel called to still book the class. And then maybe that breathwork class brought up a lot of emotions and left you feeling a little bit depleted afterwards, but you still do book that second class and feel like you are drawn back to it for some reason. That's what I'm talking about here. Whereas maybe you know people who have done or you've heard mentioned therapies like EMDR or acupuncture or reflexology, and you've just never been interested in it. You don't book the appointment, you don't explore that. That's probably because it's not for you. Or even just give it a try and see how it is, but maybe that session you don't enjoy it, there's no one in your local town who does it, or you don't like the practitioner, then it might not be for you with that one. So just be mindful about your comfort zone and self-sabotage though. They are very different, and your mind might be telling you no, but just because it's scared. And it could know that there's this huge breakthrough on the other side of you making that decision or you going to that class or practitioner. And it could really make you look at things a lot deeper in your life. So just, I always think that you know deep down what you're meant to do. And it could just be that you need to start practicing and proving to yourself that it's for a reason. And even if you make the wrong decision, you're going to learn things and what's meant for you won't pass you. So you'll always be redirected to what you're meant to have in your life. And you might want to think of when you've trusted your intuition before and how did that work out for you? Like I've done my little timeline over the years, and I then reflect on that again when there's the next thing that comes up, and it's like, I don't really know. Should I trust myself? Should I ask 1,000,001 people? And it's like, no, the last time you did this, look at how it all worked out. So, how did you feel during that time? How did you feel after the fact? And how can you remind yourself that it's safe to listen to your inner guidance again? And this is why I personally turned more towards spirituality over the past few years, because my connection now with the universe, maybe it's God for you, I truly believe and embody the fact that everything is always working out for me and for my highest good. So that also helps because I'll have this little inkling in my body, I'll follow it, and I'm like, I do trust this, but worst case scenario, it was wrong. I know that that situation, that person, that thing won't pass me, and the universe has got me. So there's lots more where that came from for this season of the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to share it with a loved one who you think could benefit, who wants to, or you feel like should tap into their intuition a little bit more, and subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss an episode, and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you're at in the world.